One refrain of the human experience which seems to be universal, seems to be something that all people experience at least at one point in their life, but probably pretty consistently through their entire life, is the perception that time has passed and they don't know where it went. I'm not talking about lost time as a child of the 90s, someone who grew up on unsolved mysteries and X-Files. I'm not talking about lost time the way that you might hear talked about in relation to UFOs and losing time. No, I'm talking about much larger swaths of time than that. Entire seasons, entire years, entire decades, entire formats of life that are, quite frankly, gone, that are unretrievable. We have here today from Emily Dickinson perhaps a a hearkening towards something like that. Welcome to Strip Cover Lit, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Fort, and we are here for another Emily Dickinson poem, a poetry discussion which will appear in two playlists here on the channel. Number one, the poetry discussion playlist, where we talk about, poetry, and the other, an Emily Dickinson playlist that we talk about Emily Dickinson. Today's poem is one that is filled with perception and grief, as you might expect from the opening line. The poem, as imperceptibly as grief, reads as such: As imperceptibly as grief, the summer lapsed away, too imperceptible at last to seem like perfidy. Let me start over. As imperceptibly as grief, the summer lapsed away, too imperceptible at last to seem like perfidy. A quietness distilled, as twilight long begun, or nature spending with herself sequestered afternoon. The dusk drew earlier in, the morning foreign shone, as courteous yet harrowing grace, as guest who would be gone. And thus, without a wing or service of a keel, our summer made her light escape into the beautiful. Now, the first time that I ever really experienced this, I was in my mid 20s, early mid 20s, and I looked up, and so much time had passed. I was working at the time 3 jobs, and the big thing in my life was that Chris Cornell had put out an album. On that album was a song called, what was the song called? Let me check real quick. The song on Carry On was called Disappearing Act. Sorry, I forgot that. But the point remains, there is a chorus in the song that reads as such: And we build and tear down, build and tear down, build and tear down with barely the time to say, how did it get so late? I'll never know. If we are to take sort of classic symbology into this poem, as imperceptibly as grief, the summer lapsed away. The summer is sort of on a large time scale with on the medium time scale with the human experience known as the productive time in life, the good part of life. The sun is shining, we get out, we get to move around, we get to do stuff. There's work to be done, and it will be done, and later the reward will be reaped for this work that we're putting in. This is the agrarian lifestyle, right? You plant, you tend, and you harvest. The harvest is the fall. The fall of life is sort of 40, 50, maybe 60, and then you get into the winter of life, the winter of life being late life, winter when things die, fall being when the reward for what it is that the reward that you have wrought is reaped. The summer is when the work is put in, the hard work, work, the sweat equity of life. Emily Dickinson here is taking some time, stepping back and saying, look, the the summer, the season of work and enjoyment, as imperceptibly as grief, this summer has slipped away from me. It was too imperceptible to last. It was gone before I even knew that it began. This is a poem that is a stark warning, right? This is a poem that is saying to you, saying to the reader, saying to the listener, it's all gone and you won't see it leaving. The good times will end and soon it will be dark. The Chris Cornell lyric is on the small scale, but it still is reflective of the life of the reader, the life of the listener. This day cycle, this year cycle, reflects on the life cycle. And we have in both of these lyrics, though Chris Cornell is talking about the day and Emily Dickinson is talking about a year, are both about the same thing, are both about looking up after the sort of fun time has passed out of the after the time that is where the value of life is strongest. After that time is gone, you will not know where it went. You will not understand or even feel it going away, but it will be gone. Warnings like this are one of the most precious things about poetry. And it seems perhaps perhaps it is sad that poetry being so beautiful, I think you would agree with me that these words from Emily Dickinson are absolutely precious. Things like this, times like this, moments like this, we do not savor them while we have them. We do not take the time to appreciate them while they're there. The What it means to be human is perhaps best summarized as storytelling. People will argue, people will disagree, people will say that it's the ability to, as Chris Cornell said, build and tear down. But ants build, do they not? Bees, one of Emily Dickinson's favorite go-tos, they build a large hive. We build. Perhaps what separates us from them is not the ability to build civilization. Perhaps it is the ability to tell these stories and learn from the mistakes of others. When we have a poet willing to spill onto the page this imperceptible grief that had struck them, it is our duty then to read this and reflect on our own lives. Do we still have the summer? Is the summer yet ahead of us? Whatever the case, odds are that we will not savor it as we should. That time will be gone. Those people with whom we're spending that time will be gone. The things that we love to do while that time is so forgiving will become harder, will become more difficult. Emily Dickinson is here to tell us ahead of time, be ready for this, be prepared, because the summer will go. Chris Cornell lets us know the day will die. It is our duty to make the most of it while we are there. Poems like this, about time gone, about time slipped away, are there to let us know that we should take better advantage of the time that we have, because it is limited. That is all I have for this poetry discussion. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other literature lovers. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, literature is the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week, and I hope to have you back for the next one.